So I have this transformer somewhat mended. When I got this thing home, when I took it out of the console, the B3 console, only one of these leads was still attached. All the others have broken free. You can't really read the color codes too close, but this wire here should be blue. This is gray. This should be blue. That's line voltage. These two here are the filament windings, and this is the center tap to the filament. These two are the B plus windings for the high voltage AC, and this is the center tap to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the voltage up quite slowly. I've tested the windings and the transformer as good as I could with the equipment I have at the highest mega ohm ranges. I don't see any shorts. I don't think this is damaged. I put the shrink tubing on because the insulation for most of these wires had rubbed right through to the conductor, so I put that in. So anyways, I'm going to power this up, and I'm going to watch the and I should get up to about 340 or 50 volts here. Okay, apparently my connections here aren't good, so I'm going to have to redo that. I'll make another clip. Okay, I'm trying a different line cord. This looks kind of precarious, I know, but let's see what we get. Now we're getting action. Apparently, I'm reading the schematic wrong. Let me, I'm probably reading between the center tap, should be 340 volts between the center tap. Let me reconnect this up to the filament winding. This should be 12 volts when it's up to power. Oh. Let me reconnect this. This should be 12 volts. Now, let's bring the power up. That's a little bit different. 3, 4. Well, maybe it's only 6 volts. And we are just under 125, 6 volts. That seemed kind of low. Very strange. Okay, let's do some other voltage checks here. Let's go from one of the B plus windings to the center tap. We go there, and there's the center tap. $350. My line voltage is a little high. It should be probably about 115. But that's about right. So now one other test. Let me test between one of the filament windings and its center tap. This is supposed to be grounded. Kind of concerned about that filament voltage. Seems low. Anyways, let's give this a shot. Now we turn this down. Oh, I see. I had my, well, there's 3 volts. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right, but anyways, let's reconnect right onto the filament. This goes to each tube. Six volts. Well, some of the tubes are 12 volt filaments, but I guess if I look at the schematic, I'll probably see that they're center tapped down to ground, so each side is running on 6 volts. That's the only thing I can assume. You know, I've never really worked on one of these preamplifiers to this level. I've never had to do this before. So, let's see what I get. I'm going to start putting this thing together. The best test, of course, is when it goes into the organ. So now the next trick is to remount the transformer, and the holes don't line up, so I have to drill at least 2 new holes to get this thing to line up properly. So that'll be the next step, is to drill holes and remount this transformer. So here I am at this stage. I have the transformer mounted. I had to drill 2 new holes because, you know, these angle brackets don't match what was originally on the transformer, which was broken off. I've replaced the broken 6x4 socket with this new one. I have this capacitor in place. This one here, because the other AO28 had this mounted underneath because it's kind of a custom job in a Model A console. But fortunately, I had the original Hammond documentation that gave me a clue as to how to orient it so that it's oriented right. And I'm pretty sure I have it in right. The next step is to start wiring it back together. So I'll start doing that now. So here's where I'm at with it so far. Transformers all put in and wired in. I've established the ground connections. The new 6x4 socket is all wired in. I have the new electrolytic cans are in. I've established grounds. I have this new capacitor in. I replaced the radial capacitor that he put in. I don't like that. He also had it tacked to the old leads, which were very weak solder connections. So this other person. So I put this capacitor in here. Now I have to establish all of the electrolytic capacitor connections, the proper. If you notice, I don't know if the videos show it, but I've scraped the chassis wherever I've soldered these grounds on. That's actually not to establish a chassis connection, because that's established through other circuits. That's just to stabilize the capacitor so it doesn't really rattle around, because when you twist these tabs, you really can't twist them too far. You'll break them off, and they don't really hold them in firmly enough. The solder, this little extra solder, if it sticks to the scratches, will kind of stabilize it so it doesn't rattle around. So that's where I'm at this stage. I'll continue working on it. I got to take a break from it for right now. Well, I've worked on this amplifier for several hours this morning and several hours this afternoon into the, it's a little after 6 here, Central Standard Time in Wisconsin, and frankly I'm bushed. I'm going to stop here. I had hoped to get this thing done tonight, but I got to quit on it for now. But some interesting things. I've got this one pretty well wired in. It is wired in completely. This one I've got 2 sections to connect up yet. Here was a missing ground wire. I don't know. I found the wire coming out was only about a 1/2 inch long. It's supposed to go to ground, but it was, where did the other part of it go? I don't know. It was just there. Something interesting, as I was working on it, I gently moved these 0.02 disc ceramic capacitors, and they neatly broke off, both of them, and the exact same side broke off. They went from here down into that hole down there. I put these film capacitors in, which I think are probably better than what was in there, but they're 0.022s. But you know, if they were ready to break just by me touching them, and maybe they were already broke, I didn't notice it, but I just barely touched them and they broke. One leg broke off. So anyways, those are replaced. Here's a mystery. I have no idea what the deal is with this resistor that goes somewhere. I'll have to figure that out. The triangle on this capacitor is a 10, or rather, it's supposed to be 30 at 25 volts. It's the 1 point something volts for the cathode of some of the tubes, and that's what this yellow lead is right here, connecting cathodes up. And here he has, I see he had this little 33 25 volts to ground here. Actually soldered in pretty good. I thought it was soldered in pretty good. I'm going to take it out, but because this is the capacitor, that's gonna run that. And where the yellow lead went that went there, I don't know where that is. And there's also this other one to connect up. That's, I think, follows the other cathode connections. Anyways, this is it. I'm gonna pause on it now. I've got a headache and I'm tired. And I think if I keep trying to finish it, it's not going to turn out too good. So I'll have to figure out what the story is. This looks like something you just soldered in here. I don't know. I'll figure that out. The orange wires that are in here are my wires because the original red wires he had cut out or shortened. I had to add those. They go to the right circuits where they belong. It's just that when he put in his capacitors, he made circuit changes on where the wires are running. Anyways, I'm going to post this as a video, and then the next one will be when it's done and tested.